I wanted to start by introducing you to our staff. We're a team of 4 right now, and who focus on different areas of services that we provide to students. So I'm the director. I'm also a career coach. I have my background in public health and my MPH and worked as a public health practitioner. So I meet with students individually, as does Allison McAleer, who is our assistant director of career coaching and career education. Courtney Burke is our Assistant Director of Employer Relations. So she's completely externally facing and working with the employers, HR departments, recruiters, and hiring managers who want to come and post jobs or engage in events with students to recruit Harvard Chan talent. And Maria Ramos is our Senior Program Coordinator, who really keeps everything running, but works very closely with Courtney on employer relations and also supports a lot of the events that our offices host. The mission of our office is to meet every student where they are on their individual career journeys to empower them in building careers that fulfill the greater mission of advancing public health. So we do this through the individualized career coaching, professional competency and skill development, network building, and education around career paths, industries, and employers. We are here for the whole school. So all of the master students, doctoral students, we also serve alumni. So you have access to our services after you graduate, and we serve our employers as well. We really emphasize the individual and the individualized part because the Harvard Chan student environment is incredibly diverse. There's a lot of students coming with prior work experience, prior degrees, different geographic locations. So we know that everyone's career goals are very personal and based upon their specific skill set and their specific needs in terms of their outcomes after school. So there's a couple questions that I anticipated that you might be having. I'm happy to answer more, but I want to make sure that I answered these questions for you today in my session. The first is just an overview on what types of support we provide, what you can expect if you come here from our office. And then you might be wondering, how is this all done virtually? How did we change to the virtual environment, and how has employer recruiting possibly changed? So I'll share some of the virtual services and programs that we've offered. I imagine you're wondering, where do graduates go? What do you do with your degree? So I'll give you some of that information and some tools where you can find out a little bit more about our graduates as well. And then how do we support international students? I know that some of you most likely are joining us today from other countries, that you're wondering, what is the job search like in the US for international students and how do we support them? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. First, this is the model that our whole career office, all of our programmings really follows this career development cycle model. So we think about career development really as a cyclical process, not necessarily a linear process, and that it's something that people come back to over and over throughout their career. So you may work for 10 years, and then you might find yourself back in the self-reflection stage where you're thinking about, what are my strengths and interests? What do I really enjoy doing? What is the perfect work environment for me? And then you go through the process of exploring, well, what are the career and education options out there? Do I need to get another degree, additional training, which is probably what you're thinking about with your public health degree? And then what can I do with that degree or that training? And then developing the skills and experiences, not only on the academic side, but professionally, to know how to be a good candidate when you're applying and interviewing for jobs, knowing how to network, how to do it appropriately in this context. And then the last piece is connecting with people and opportunities. So making sure that we're really bringing employers and alumni who are cycling through, who can talk to you about what is it like to work at their organization, or how can you reach out to some of our alumni or employers yourself to set up some of the informational interviewing or networking conversations. So this is the model that you'll really see a lot of our programming and services fall into. And then I'll go into a little bit deeper in terms of the career coaching, the career education, the employer engagement, and the alumni connections as well. So here are a handful of the career programs that we typically offer in any given year. So there's a section that we think of as career development basics. So when you come to Harvard, there are so many events and talks and opportunities. Sometimes people describe it as trying to drink out of a fire hose. There's just a lot of things coming at you on top of your academics. So we often start off the year with a session on how to navigate your career at Harvard Chan to make sure that you're not, only focusing on what you're getting out of the classes, but to take every advantage of this rich environment for your career and professional development as well. So going over things like writing the perfect resume, how to do it in sort of the US format if you're applying to jobs here, because every country has its own norms around resumes and CVs. Crafting your career story. So how do you talk about yourself for interviews, networking, introducing yourself to other people, using LinkedIn as a tool, understanding what employers are looking for in job descriptions, and many other things, navigating the interview process and evaluating your job offers and salary offers as well. Some of the more specialty programs that we offer is we collaborate very closely with Elizabeth Capuano, who is the immigration lawyer in the Harvard International Office that works with Harvard Chance students. So she often hosts sessions on OPT to make sure that you understand all of the requirements and expectations and deadlines of you if you are an international student. There's also a number of fellowships or postgraduate opportunities, either through the CDC or through hospitals or different public health agencies. So we try to bring in alumni or people from those agencies to talk about some of these different fellowships. I'm also the Fulbright program advisor for the school. So if you decide to apply to a Fulbright, you'll be working with me. And there are other opportunities through Harvard, the Harvard Traveling Fellowships that offer funding. So these are, you'll get a weekly newsletter from us when you come here so that you can keep on top of some of these opportunities. And then we do a program that's actually worked really well on Zoom called Alumni Office Hours, where alumni who want to come in and share what their job search was like or what their day-to-day is like at their organization is like, sign up for, a time slot, and then you can sign up for times to meet with them to get some advising from our alumni. So we have been able to do that on Zoom really successfully because we can reach out to alumni who aren't in the Boston area, who can still meet with students and aren't required to come into the building. This is a picture from a workshop we did just about a couple weeks ago on how to use improv. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with improv comedy, but it's a really great tool using improv to prepare for thinking on your feet, to practicing for interviews or networking situations, and to really sort of loosen up if you're feeling nervous about any of those kinds of interactions. So we've successfully been able to host events in person, obviously masked, vaccinated with all the COVID requirements in place, but to still make it engaging and fun and build a sense of community. I also wanted to pull out, I mentioned a couple of the programs that we've offered specifically for international students. So working closely with Elizabeth Capuano. There's an author named Dan Beaudry who's written a book specifically on the US job search for international students, and we've brought him in for the last 3 years. And we often give a copy of his books out to our students as well. And then we bring in a group of immigration lawyers to share information about all the different visa options that might be available to you. And then we try to bring our international alumni back in to share really from their experience how looking for a job worked for them. Next, I'm going to talk about how we adapted some of our services to the virtual world. So we typically offer one-on-one coaching, 30-minute appointments throughout the week, whether you want to come in and just talk about general career exploration, or if you have a resume or you're applying for a job and you want someone to review your materials. So I meet with students in my office, but we do offer a Zoom option. And that's been really nice because I often offer evening appointments as well. So if you kind of get done with your day, done with everything that is required of you for classes, but that you would like to meet with a coach, at night, we're able to do that by Zoom. So the Zoom coaching is available in person or on Zoom. And then we have, the school uses a learning management system called Canvas, where all of your courses will be set up on. We have a career development page on the Canvas site too, where we have a lot of materials. We have a career toolkit. We have some self-guided exercises. Just so there's a lot of different, places to access information once you get here as a student and want to stay on top of your career and professional development. The last few years, instead of offering an in-person career fair or career expo, some of you may have attended these either at your undergraduate institutions or other places where you come in and there's several booths set up by employers. You go from place to place to learn about their organization, submit your resume. We have been using a platform called Brazen to recreate that experience online. And this year we had, I think, 48 employers come. So it was more than we've had in the last 5 years. And again, it's just the online platforms have allowed us to broaden our reach quite a bit. So you'll see a screenshot of the booths that are set up, and then you're able to enter the booth and talk to a recruiter or a hiring manager. They get your resume automatically, and you're able to connect with them that way. We are also kind of trying to stay on top of how our employers recruiting. If employers are finding that, well, traveling from university to university and doing career fairs wasn't working for them, but we like these virtual events, then we're going to have to stay on top of making sure that we offer that as a place for employers to connect with you as students. Next, the school has a platform called Harvard Chan Engage, where all of our student organizations are on and our student-facing offices. So our office has a page on that too, and that's where you can find some of the events that are being hosted for students on a weekly, daily basis. These are a number of the platforms that we have. Also, I've mentioned a couple of them already. Career Connect is the jobs board for the Harvard Chan School. So this is where employers can post jobs, where they can schedule info sessions. You'll automatically be added to this if you decide to come here in the summer before you start your program, so that you can start to get familiar with the platform. This is where you would schedule your coaching appointments with us, where you can look at job postings, you can look at internships or field practice opportunities. Harvard Chan Engage, again, is the platform for events where you can find out what's going on at the school. Our weekly newsletter is another thing that you'll automatically be subscribed to. It comes out every Sunday. A lot of the departments also put out weekly newsletters. So there's a lot of information for you to manage, but ours is the one that comes out on Sunday. So that can kind of help you prepare for the week, what programs you might want to attend. And then Canvas, again, is the site that I showed you a screenshot of that has our career toolkit, some of the interactive exercises, but it also has recordings of all of our online programs for the last couple of years. So if we did a program, say last year, that we aren't able to recreate with the same panelists, you still have access to that information. And then all of our current programs that we host online are recorded and saved there too. So you're welcome to attend live, but there's also an asynchronous option for you to view any of the panels or information sessions afterwards. And then lastly, our student advisory committee is a group that we really enjoy working with throughout the year. It's a leadership opportunity that you can apply for in September when you come here. If you're really interested in career and development, or if you like to serve as a liaison and help connect students in your department, your program, to some of the opportunities and provide feedback to our office, we like to be very responsive to students. And here, every year there's a new group of students who's interested in one niche area of public health or one type of industry. And so we want to make sure that we're staying on top of and being responsive to your feedback. And the Student Advisory Committee is really the place, if you're interested in that, to serve and connect with our office on a regular basis. So I'm going to go through some of the graduate outcomes and where you can find them on our website. If you haven't looked at it already, you can go to the Harvard Chan page and look up career and professional development, and there's a tab for graduate outcomes. The ones that are listed on there are a little outdated. They are going to be updated soon. So we often see a mix of these different decisions in terms of what students choose to do after they graduate from here. So there are a group of students who will return to the same employer that they're already working at when they come to get their degree. A number of students go back to medical school once they come here. They're maybe in between their 3rd and 4th year of medical school, or they might choose to go to medical school after they complete their MPH or SM degrees. A lot of students continue their education, again, like I said, either medical school or a PhD program or a JD program or some other type of degree that they decide that they want afterwards. And then a lot of our students are applying for new positions and trying to find new opportunities to go into after they finish. And then there's always a small group, of course, that's undecided, and that's completely fine too. It's our job to help you get some clarity on what you're looking for. So over 88% of our students are employed or either have decided to pursue continuing education within 6 months after graduation. I would say about 60%, 60 to 65% do find employment, and it's about 20 to 25% that do continue their education. So a lot of students who are interested in pursuing maybe even another degree afterwards. If you look on the data visualization, you can see the breakdown by degree, by department, and then what was their what did they decide to do afterwards. There's also a section on the Career and Professional Development website called Career Pathways and Sectors that give you a list of different organizations within these different industries. So if you're interested in consulting, but you've only heard of a couple, maybe of the few large consulting companies out there, here's a list of multiple other consulting organizations within public health. Same for data science, global health, government organizations. So here's a place and a page just to get you started to finding some additional ideas. I'm just going to pause for a second to make sure, see if there's some questions coming in, and I'll get to those in a second. So in terms of employer engagement and how that works at the school, so employers have a number of ways to engage with our office. They can choose to either just post jobs and opportunities. That's all they might choose to do. They want students to apply, but they might not do any of the events. If they want to be a little bit more engaged in our office, they can host an info session, an office hour, or a panel. Or they can come to the Career Expo, the ones that we did in person or that we do online, where especially when they're actively trying to hire and they have a lot of open positions, they choose to do some of those events. And then we've also done career treks and site visits. So when we were in person, we often took students, one group to DC and one group to New York, either in the fall or the spring, to go visit a number of organizations in person and to network with some of the employees there. We're waiting to see what that looks like, sort of in a post-COVID world, just because so many organizations are not back in person and are not open to hosting visitors from outside in large groups at this time. But we are recreating sort of a virtual career trek. So in November, we'll be doing a week of Boston-based organizations and to make it possible for students to have that same experience and to still hear from people in those organizations about, what the day-to-day is like and what skills are most in demand and those types of questions. Here, just a brief list of some of the employers over the last few years who have hosted information sessions with us or who have participated in a career event or posted a job with us. So it really ranges across, hospitals, universities, consulting, government agencies, nonprofits. So if you look at the breakdown, I would say a lot of our students go into hospitals and universities because they're very engaged in research. But then there's also government positions, state, local, and public health departments, nonprofit organizations, global health organizations. So very broad range of interests here at the school. This is our 2020 to 2021 Student Advisory Committee. We just solidified who's going to be in the advisory committee for this year. I didn't have their pictures to update them, but we tried to make sure we get a range across the school of the different programs and degrees so that we hear the voices of all of the students. And just really quickly, a few things that you can do next. I would suggest going into our graduate outcomes data a little bit further and looking at some of the degree programs that maybe you're considering applying to, poking around on our website a bit. We have some checklists to help with career development while you're here, to help you manage your time on top of everything else that you have to do. And then you're always able to search Harvard Chan alumni on LinkedIn. So you can actually go on LinkedIn and go to any public health school's page, look at the alumni tab and put in some search terms to see where the alumni landed. So if you know that you want to work specifically in Boston, or if you want to work specifically in health communications or biostatistics, you can type in some of those terms and see where our alumni have landed. And that's often a tool that we promote to our current students as well, because that's really helpful for networking. So that's all that I have today in terms of slides. I'm going to stop sharing them and try to answer some of the questions that are coming in.
Great. Thank you so much, Sheila. I see quite a few questions have started coming in, so we can start from the top. And for those who might have thought about a few questions and would like to ask them, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box. So the first question is specific to international students, and you touched on this, and the question is, how does the Harvard Chan School help international students with opportunities within the US after graduating, specifically if they enroll in a program that is not STEM OPT eligible? So are there partnerships with specific companies that sponsor international students, or what resources might be available?
We don't have any specific partnerships right now in terms of like a pipeline or placements where international students go. I will say we can look at our previous alumni to tell you what organizations in the past have hosted alumni or have sponsored some alumni to help you make those decisions on yourself. The immigration lawyers that we bring in are also good at talking about what organizations are subject to certain types of visa quotas, or what organizations are really not allowed to sponsor. So there's a lot of information out there online too. So we help you think about how to navigate this information the best to help inform your job search.
Great, thank you. The next question is about fellowships. Could you talk a little bit more about how students can either apply for fellowships or what programs there might be available?
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly what fellowships you're referring to. The ones that I mentioned in my session, there is a program called the Harvard Traveling Fellowships. You can Google that. It's offered centrally through Harvard. So students, it's actually to use in the year after you graduate. If you have a research project or program that you would like to, do a year of research for, they fund, I think, up to $30,000 that you can apply to. And in the last few years, a couple of our students have been awarded that to go. It's really helpful if you think you might consider going to a PhD program, but you want to do a year of research in between applying for that funding that's available to you through Harvard. It's a great opportunity. So those are the Harvard Traveling Fellowships. You can look that up online. And I think the same person actually asked the question about the Fulbright program, and I'm happy to answer that too. So if you're a US citizen, you can apply for the US Student Fulbright Program. The deadline is typically there's a campus deadline and a national deadline. The national deadline is typically in October. And you have to look very carefully at the Fulbright website and decide what country you want to go to. Do you want to study or do you want to do research? So it's a process that you really have to start kind of early on if you think you might want to apply, but I'm happy to meet with anyone who's considering it when they come here. But I would look at the website for sure.
Thank you, Sheila. The next question we might need some clarification on, but somebody does ask or is wondering how you might answer from your perspective what a student might add to a lab or an office. And I guess I'll take this into two parts of interpreting it. The first would be if students are preparing for an interview, what kind of services or resources might you offer?
Yeah, so if you're preparing for an interview, we are happy to meet with you individually one-on-one to do a mock interview, and we can walk through some of these questions and give you feedback. If you're thinking about this question specifically, I think any organization will ask, what do you bring or what are your strengths? So knowing how to talk about your strengths and your skills really well, I think is a really helpful thing to practice no matter what type of organization you're interviewing for. We do also have an online platform that does recorded interviews. That's a tool for Harvard Chan students when they come as well.
Great, thanks, Sheila. And then I guess the second part of the question maybe is from your perspective, or I'm not sure if maybe the student was getting at this, in your work with other employers, are there specific experiences at the Harvard Chan School that they find are a particular strength? I know it varies a lot individually based on a student's experiences or background, but in case that's kind of the angle they're coming from.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what you're interested in. So I know that's hard to answer, but sometimes some of our students come and they're really interested in entrepreneurship or business or startups. So if you get involved with like the Harvard iLab, for example, and some of the kind of competitions that are, startup competitions around Harvard or MIT, if that's the direction that you're wanting to go to, I think employers value that experience. If you're in the MPH program and you do your practicum at an organization that's similar to the organization that you might want to work at, they would probably value that you've had that hands-on experiential experience. So it's very individual, but there's a lot that you can take advantage of. If you want to do research, for example, or go to a PhD program, working as a research assistant with a faculty member, or finding who your interests align with while you're here, those can all be valuable experiences.
Great, thanks, Sheila, and thank you for the few examples. There are a lot of opportunities to tailor a student's academic experience, so thank you for touching on those. And just a little bit of context for those who aren't familiar with the iLab that Sheila referenced. It's an innovation lab, and it's university-wide, so it's an opportunity for students to collaborate with other graduate students at other Harvard schools, really focused on kind of innovation and entrepreneurship. And Sheila, feel free to jump in if there's anything you'd add there, but just so everyone is on the same page.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I know they often have competitions where they provide seed funding. So we've had an alum a couple of years ago who got seed funding to start a startup afterwards. So yeah, lots of great things across Harvard.
Great, thank you. The next two are kind of specific to certain fields of work, but the questions are there on-campus recruitment opportunities for roles in healthcare management consulting? And the other one is related to career support for entrepreneurship, which we kind of just touched on. So I don't know if you want to take those.
Sure. So we have a couple companies. I'm not sure if you say consulting again, I assume a lot of people sometimes are thinking about McKinsey, BCG, Bain. This year we did do a consulting week where those organizations participated. Deloitte recruits here pretty regularly. In terms of they often take interns or practicum students and then offer them full-time employment afterwards. So some of them might not do on-campus recruiting, although that has really changed in the virtual world. But they do engage with our office and host information sessions or advise our students on what opportunities to best apply for. So it's a little different, I guess, than the MBA model of consulting and recruiting, but consulting, especially those deadlines happen really early in the fall. So it's helpful to know that if that's a career path that you want to go into before you come here, because often September, October are when some of those deadlines are. I would also recommend looking at the Harvard Graduate Consulting Club. They offer some great resources for students who decide to pursue consulting. And then our office does work to provide programming around that topic. And then the entrepreneurship and startup one was the other one. So yeah, the iLab is one. I think there's courses you can take here. You can cross-register also at the business school, especially if you're interested in building more skills on entrepreneurship. I think our health policy and management faculty often, I'm not completely familiar with all of the courses here that are offered, but that's the department I would look at for those types of skills.
Great, thank you, Sheila. Somebody's asking specifically about students who are recent graduates from the Drph program. Do you have a sense for the kinds of careers that our Drph students go on to pursue?
So our Drph students come, with 10 to 15 years of experience, and they come from very different fields. So they often come wanting to go to like a senior leadership level in the field that they were in, or to make a pivot to another field. So maybe they've worked at an international NGO and they want to work domestically, but they want to go into kind of the senior management or leadership positions. I know the Drph office has some really good bios of their students and alumni, so they would be the department to ask for those outcomes specifically.
Great, thank you. Somebody is asking if you don't mind chatting a little bit more about partnerships or organizations, specifically nonprofits that we might be connected with. The student specifically asking if there's a range of LGBTQ plus partnerships as they are looking for opportunities in this population, since that is their specialty area.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's some great partnerships. There's a concentration in women, gender, and health here at the school. In terms of like the coursework, but in terms of organizations, Fenway Health is one that has been an ongoing partner with us in terms of recruiting and hiring. There are a number of other organizations. I'm blanking a little bit on all of the names, but that's something that if you came here, we could pull for you, or also if you wanted to do your practicum there. I know that there have been students where that has been their focus area, or sometimes there's maybe a center department within one of the larger hospitals or the Department of Public Health too. So those are a couple that come to mind off the top of my head.
Great, thank you. The next question is about geographic placement after the Harvard Chan School, and if there are opportunities to assist students in finding jobs outside of the US.
Yeah, I mean, every year we have students who come who are interested in possibly going to Europe or to Canada, or back to their home countries. I know a lot of students come and take their degrees back with them as well. I would say that we often rely on our alumni. We have alumni chapters in a lot of different, we have in London, and for example, I know there's a handful of alumni at the World Health Organization as well. So we're a little less, I would say, familiar with all of the norms and practices around hiring in all the countries. I guess depending on what country it is, but Canada and the UK are the ones that come to mind in terms of where a lot of our alumni go.
Thank you. The next is about the timeline. So somebody comments that it seems like career prep can start before the semester even starts or before enrollment. Could you touch on when you first start to engage with students and what that first step might look like?
Yeah, sure. So we typically send out an email, I would say in about June or July, to get you started on Career Connect. A lot of students never touch it until they get here, and that's completely fine too. But we're available starting in August to meet with incoming students. So some students really want to come in, understand what we're about, how they can work with us, and set up a plan for themselves. So we encourage you to do that. If you want to get your resume reviewed in August before you start, just to know that you're ready for the career fair or some of the other deadlines that are coming up. We typically host a career fair every September, about mid-September or late September. But so we're happy to work with you, I would say, in the summer before you come here. It's not a lot of students that engage with us, but sometimes it's just starting to poke around at our resources, starting to look at our Canvas site, the career toolkit, to just get familiar on everything that we offer and what support you might need. That's how I have seen students engage with us before school actually starts in the past.
Excellent, thank you. Somebody asks about how online students can benefit from career services and professional development and job opportunities and the services you offer.
Yeah, so, the wonderful thing is that we've had the MPH-EPI program online for several years, even before COVID happened. And we were always serving those students as well. So we would meet with them on Zoom. I know there's a lot of students who are in our online programs who are maybe already working at an organization and just want to learn how to advance at that organization or use this degree to open up a new set of opportunities at the organization that we're in, which is really why our office is focused on career and professional development, because it's a bit about advancement or advocacy for yourself within the organization that you're in. If you're interested in finding a new opportunity or switching jobs, you have access to Career Connect and all of the events that are available. And I think having more of that online has made it more accessible to our online students as well. So we really see you as, an in-person student. I think those boundaries have all shifted, right? So, but we're happy to help.
Thank you. I mean, you touched on this a little bit, but it looks like somebody was hoping to that you could clarify if your office would be able to help with kind of resume workshops or
Yes.
resume enhancement.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a general resume workshop and we have a sample resumes that we can share with you. But if you want us to edit and review your resume, we're happy to talk. We meet with students one-on-one all the time for that. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Somebody asks if they decide to continue studies at Harvard, would your office be able to assist with the application process? So my understanding is that maybe the student is already within the Harvard system, and if your office is able to support students who wish to stay within Harvard, either through research or academics. So maybe, I guess, one step broader for students maybe thinking of continuing on with their education.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about if you want to work at Harvard after, there are a lot of opportunities, and we're happy to help prepare for resumes and interviews for jobs here at the school or through a medical school. If you're thinking about applying to PhD programs, the PhD is typically through the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. How our office can help is that we will often give feedback on statements of purpose or personal statements in the application process. That's typically where we can support applying to other graduate programs, either here at Harvard or elsewhere.
Great, thank you. Somebody is asking about on-campus employment or assistantships. Is that something that your office would do, or is that they go to some other support services at the school?
There is, I would recommend looking at the Student Employment Office, the SEO at Harvard. That's sort of the central resource for all student opportunities. In Career Connect, we do post student employment and work study opportunities, for example. So you can look at both of those places. And then often the departments will send newsletters or listservs or announcements to their listservs about opportunities within the departments or at the school.
Great, thank you. I see several kind of individual questions about the kind of career a student could have depending on a field of study or a specific interest. Where would you recommend that the student starts? What resource?
I think the best way to find that out is looking at LinkedIn and looking at the Alumni tab. So if you want to see specifically, what titles, what organizations are students with a degree in health and social behavior, what are they doing now? I think that's the best place to find the most up-to-date information. Public health is very broad. It really depends on, there may be a topic area that you really love, but then you want to think about what are the skills and what is the day-to-day tasks that I really have to do. Do I love really technical or analytical skills? Do I love working hands-on with community and other people? Do I want to be in a management or leadership position? So within any industry or organization, there's all these different roles. So we do kind of help you reflect on what is the best situation for you and where do you think you want to go and what skills do you want to develop. But if you're looking at what did prior graduates from this specific degree program do, I do think that LinkedIn tab is the most helpful.
Great, thank you. And then thinking about skill development, somebody's curious if there are certain tools that your office can recommend or provide when as a student for getting clarity on some of these skills.
Yeah, so you might be referring to like the Myers-Briggs test or other assessments like that. There are some, I think it's like 16 Personalities is a website that offers a free Myers-Briggs. I think the tool that I particularly really like is StrengthsFinder. You can buy the book and it comes with a code to take that test. Some of the courses, the MPH practicum course, I think you get to take that as part of the course. But I also think that meeting with a career coach is another way to have someone reflect your strengths back to you. So often I will meet with students and they'll tell me about a job that they've done and they've written about it in a way that I'm like, this doesn't reflect everything you've just told me. So I think sometimes just having that relationship and dialogue is really helpful. But I do think StrengthsFinder is one of the better ones out there.
Great, thank you. And somebody asks, and we already discussed this a little bit, but the opportunities for students who'd like to gain experience by working on campus. You've also referenced the practicum experience. Is that something that your office would assist with, or where would student go once for like practice-based support?
So there is an Office of Field Practice, and Stacey King is the director of that office. So that team manages the whole field practice experience. Those opportunities are posted in Career Connect, and they will typically send out some announcements in the summer before you start your program as well to get you up to speed on that. So our office doesn't advise on that, but you'll find the opportunities in Career Connect as well. But if you're thinking about just on-campus employment, you can find some of that in Career Connect. You can find that through your department, and you can find it through the Student Employment Office. And then there might be opportunities just in the greater Boston community. I think this SEO website has off-campus opportunities posted there sometimes as well.
Thank you. Let's see. So somebody's asking if there are, let's see. Okay, so somebody's asking if there's specific courses or programs for Harvard related to digital health and health innovation. And we talked about this a little bit, but is there anything you'd want to add outside of the iLab or the competition opportunities?
I feel like I'm not the best person to ask about courses that are offered. I think looking at the departments in the course catalog would be the best place to really find out courses, those skills.
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning that. So our various academic departments and our programs are also excellent resources for prospective students. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have specific questions about that. There are also a lot of excellent resources on the website. So there is an MPH curriculum guide that's kind of the one-stop shop for all of the MPH fields of study. We highly encourage prospective students to check that out. For students interested in our Master of Science programs, the course curriculums can often be found on the department's website and the student handbook. So if you have any trouble finding those resources, please don't hesitate to reach out to us in admissions and we'd be happy to help. A lot of our programs and departments will also be hosting specific sessions later this week. So I would encourage you to ask about that too in the area of study that you're interested in pursuing. Let's see, so we have just a couple minutes left. Somebody asks if we could share both your contact information for your office's website, as well as how they might be able to get in touch with you.
Sure, I will put it in the website. Typing my email in. So it's skrishnan@hsph.harvard.edu.
Great, thank you so much. And recognizing we have just a few minutes left, thank you all so much for your engagement, your excellent questions. I think we covered all of the topics on a high level, but now you have Sheila's contact information if you do think of any questions that weren't covered after today. With one final closing question, Sheila, is there one piece of parting advice you might share with prospective students who are either currently applying or thinking of applying and pursuing their graduate studies in public health?
That's a great one. It's an exciting time to be in public health. I worked in public health. I have my degree. I know it's a really important decision that you're about to make, but I don't think you can go wrong depending on what school you go to. It's just a wonderful field to be a part of. And I think you have to make the best decision for you.
Great, thank you.